Hey everybody, welcome to Earth and Time, a channel that explores human as well as Earth history. And today we're really going to focus on Earth history, specifically history of creatures that are now extinct. We're going to go learn about dinosaurs here at the Jurassic Giants Exhibit, the Houston Zoo. Let's go learn about the age of dinosaurs, check out many of the different types of dinosaurs that lived during the age of dinosaurs, as well as see how they moved and maybe what they looked like when they had muscles and skin on them. So what they have here are animatronics, replicas, based on fossil evidence of what these creatures could have looked like. I'm super excited. The Jurassic Giants, let's get to it. So before we get too far into this exhibit, one of the things I want to do is talk to you a little bit about the time of the dinosaurs. And the time of the dinosaurs was known as the Mesozoic. And it's actually broken into three different subtimes or periods. And those are known as the Triassic, which is the earliest time of the dinosaurs. The Jurassic, of course, people are very familiar with that name for things like Jurassic Park. And of course, this is the Jurassic Giants Exhibit. And then the Cretaceous, that was the end time of the dinosaurs before the meteorite impact and the extinction of those creatures. So let's take a look at what that looks like in a geologic timescale now. I picked up this pamphlet on the dinosaurs and prehistoric animals of Texas, and in here they actually have a geologic time scale that I wanted to share with you all. But what I really want to focus on is what's known as Mesozoic, which is this section here in blue, and they call it an era. And within era they have periods. So they have the Triassic, this is the early time of dinosaurs. They have the Jurassic, and they have the Cretaceous, which I just spoke about. And at the end of the Cretaceous, about 65 million years ago, is when the meteorite impact happened and the dinosaurs went extinct. But from the Triassic through to the end of the Cretaceous was the time of the dinosaurs during the Mesozoic. So why is it important for us to understand the geologic timescale as it relates to dinosaurs? Well, it helps us understand when different species of dinosaurs were living. Not all dinosaurs lived throughout the Mesozoic. They actually lived in different time periods. And so we can talk a bit about some of these dinosaurs, when they lived, and how they may be ancestors or related or cousins to other dinosaurs. The Lesiosaurus, these are actually from the Triassic, so these would be very, very early dinosaurs. And you can see here they're suggesting they would have eaten leaves out of the tree. There's some kind of what we know as sauropods. So sauropods are a family of dinosaurs that include things with the long necks and long tails like Diplodocus and Brachiosaurus. And so this would have been maybe an early ancestor to some of those. And here's a Brachiosaurus. Most individuals have probably seen pictures of these or heard of these before, but it is a giant herbivore. I've actually got to walk around this tree so you can see its face. And it is one of those, what I talked about as a sauropod. And this truly is a Jurassic giant. Absolutely gigantic. And if you turn this around for scale, I come somewhere between its shoulder and its elbow in here to give you an idea, and I'm right just under 6 feet tall. So it gives you an idea about just how big one of these things would be. So this was, I don't know, 18 feet, 3 of me up to the top of his head, and I'm sure this is, of course, an example of a brachiosaur. I'm sure they got much larger. This is clearly some kind of relative to the Stegosaurus, and I'm guessing this would have lived during the Jurassic. That was the time where Stegosaurus and its ancestors lived. And this one's fascinating. Look at the 2 horns coming out the side. Really cool. And it's called, you can see that down there, Tuyangosaurus. Yet another new dinosaur for me. This is really, really a cool exhibit. And it's cool seeing them move. And here comes something I have studied, at least relatives to these creatures before. This is, and these lived during the Cretaceous, and the reason I know about them is I actually studied dinosaur tracks from this family of dinosaurs, and they're known as hadrosaurs. And what I did is I studied the tracks they would make in muds in Utah, of all places, when there was something called the Cretaceous Interior Seaway that cut the United States as we know it today in half with an ocean. Really, really cool story. But this is, a sauropod is the greater group of dinosaurs, and they lived during the Cretaceous. Oh, look. This little carnivore is making bread. Did you say it's like my kitty cat? I often think my cat, his name is Aries, is part dinosaur. This one is known as a Herosaurus, and this is a new one for me also, but this lived during the Triassic, so that early time of the dinosaurs, and obviously was a meat eater, similar looking to something more maybe like an Allosaur than a T-Rex. It was smaller. It was about my size. If it stood all the way up, maybe it'd be 8 feet tall or so. I definitely wouldn't want to run into one of these in a dark forest though. And check this gigantic lady behind me, another sauropod, and let's find out what type. This is a Dreadnoughtus, and the Dreadnoughtus is absolutely gargantuan and lived towards the end of the time of the dinosaurs. So these sauropods, the long necks and whiptails, were around from the beginning of the time of the dinosaurs all the way until the end, and she is truly massive. And turning around at the Dreadnoughtus here, you can actually hear her trumpeting, or what they thought they would have sounded like. That's really cool. And check out this gigantic sauropod. This is a Mamenchisaurus. I often feel like a Mamenchisaurus when I'm hungry for sure, but this lived during the time of the Jurassic as well, and was another one that was truly a Jurassic giant. And it's eating away. What are you eating down there? Eating some flowers. Really impressed with what a good job they've done here. And look at those pterosaurs up there. So pterosaurs or pterodons are not dinosaurs, they're actually flying reptiles. But pretty cool. And look at this lady over here protecting her egg. This is a Spinosaurus, and most individuals are familiar with Spinosaurus, or Spinosauri? Spinosauruses from the Jurassic movies. And I would easily fit into this creature's mouth. Maybe my feet would stick out a little bit, but this thing could swallow me almost whole. Woo! And the Spinosaurus lived during the Cretaceous, or towards the end of the time of dinosaurs. But it's truly a giant, not a Jurassic giant, but a Cretaceous giant. And here's some more of my favorites, the iguanodons. So when I was talking about checking out the tracks in Utah that I was working on, they were probably more related to the iguanodon, which are a type of hadrosaur. And I don't know if you can hear them, but they actually have them trumpeting. Now these are truly Jurassic giants. The Stegosaurus lived during the Jurassic period and would have been contemporaries with things like the Allosaurus and some of the other dinosaurs we saw from the Jurassic. And I will let everybody note the Allosaurus is my favorite dinosaur. The Stegosaurus is actually my daughter's, and they are really cool. So just on the other side of the Spinosaurus, they actually have a Triceratops skull, and they show a Triceratops here. Now, Triceratops would have seen the end of the time of the dinosaurs. They were around when the meteorite impact happened or occurred, and in this case, again, obviously gigantic creatures, something, you know, not quite the size of an elephant, but much larger than a rhino. And with those horns on their heads, woo, stay out of their way when they're charging. Does anyone know what they call a herd of Triceratops? If rhinos are a crash, I wonder if these should be something like a pierce because of their horns. I don't know. If somebody else knows, please let me know in the comments below. Here is a Carnotaurus. I'm really excited to see an animatronic version of this. I was actually at the French National Paleontological Museum in Paris this summer, and I'll link a video I did up here for my visit there, but I saw my first Carnotaurus skeleton and I was so excited. So these are from the late Cretaceous as well. Likely they went extinct or weren't around when the meteorite impact, but potentially they could have been. So I think they assume they went extinct somewhere around 69 million years ago, but pretty cool to see. Really need to see the animatronic. And another one of my favorite dinosaurs other than the Allosaurus. As I turn around, look at the size. I have to look almost straight up. This is a Quetzalcoatlus, one of the largest flying creatures ever, if not the largest flying creature ever. And it is gigantic. It is over 20 feet tall. The wingspan's got to be well over 20, 30 feet. And it is towering. So much so that at almost 6 feet tall, I could walk underneath it. Probably hit my head on its tail on the way out, but I could walk underneath this giant creature. And if I look all the way down there, you can see its head way, way up there. The Quetzalcoatlus. And the Quetzalcoatlus is truly a giant. And as I'm looking at all these animals, I'm starting to think we really need to call it Cretaceous giants, not Jurassic giants, because this also lived during the Cretaceous, towards the end of the time of the dinosaurs. Absolutely spectacular. Here is both a skeleton and an animatronic example of an Apatosaurus. This is also a late Jurassic giant and another part of this family known as sauropods. And they even have eggs down here. This is fascinating that they've placed what they think the size of their eggs would look like. Paleontologists have now discovered eggs from various groups of dinosaurs where they found the remains of dinosaurs with those eggs, suggesting those eggs would belong to that species. I find that fascinating. I really think it's neat that they've included the eggs here and thinking about the size of some of these eggs. And although the egg is big, it's not really that big considering the creature will eventually end up being this Apatosaurus. Check out the Ankylosaur. They're really, really cool. And the Ankylosaur lived in the Cretaceous as well, so the end time of dinosaurs. So things like the Ankylosaur did not live at the same time as the Stegosaurus or the Allosaurus. It would live more contemporaneous with the Triceratops, as well as everybody's favorite predator, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. So I can imagine these giant club tails whacking into the legs of a T-Rex. And more Stegosaurus, Sauruses. Here's another Cretaceous theropod. This one is known as a velociraptor. And of course, velociraptors made famous by Jurassic Park. But one thing you'll notice is that here I am for scale. So this velociraptor comes to somewhere in my thigh, which historically is about how big velociraptors were. And of course, when they made the Jurassic World books, Michael Crichton did that, of course, the movies, what they're really representing was something closer to what is known as a Utah raptor, which is a much taller type of raptor. And I wonder if we're going to see an example of one of those while we're here. So again, a velociraptor whose poor hands have not had a good day. One of those, somebody took his fingers. I'm sorry, little velociraptor. And look at that. I think that's supposed to be the Archaeopteryx, the first feathered reptile, which is the ancestor of the modern day birds. Pretty cool to see that. Now they don't have a sign anywhere, but I'm guessing that's what that's supposed to be. And I'm about to enter a rib cage of some kind of sauropod as velociraptors are chasing me through here and here. And that velociraptor just got whacked in the face by a sauropod. Take that, velociraptor. Here it comes, it's coming right for you. And take that, whack. And here's another one trying to get me. I see you down there. A perfect timing. I wonder if we're going to see a Utah raptor, and sure enough, here's a Utah raptor. And you'll see they actually put feathers on it. So these are from the Dromaeosaurids, and that's a family of raptor dinosaurs. And they now have evidence that they actually had feathers on them. This would have been a feathered dinosaur. Really cool. And it gets its name from where it was found in Utah. And really, the claw was found in the early 1990s. And if you remember when the Jurassic Park movie came out, and also the book predated that. The movie was right around that time. So they actually didn't realize there were raptors that were as large as the ones in the book and in the movie until they discovered the Utah raptor here in the early 1990s. And this Utah raptor is from the early time of the Cretaceous. Really cool. And here's another Utah raptor. Check this out with the feathers on it. I believe they now have a Utah Raptor State Park as well, and I hope to make it there and share that all with you on one of my trips to Utah in the near future. And walking over on this side, it looks like they have two dinosaurs. Oh, they have a carnivore eating a little sauropod herbivore here. So you have an Ankylosaurus, and I'm assuming that's this one roaring at me. And then you have a Shunosaurus, which looks like that is becoming the snack for this Ankylosaurus. Bit T-Rex-like, although it's got 3 clawed fingers there. And this would have lived during the time of the Jurassic. And the Shunnosaurus, I'm guessing, would also, since it's sitting here eating it. I hope they would keep true to that timeline. And here's a Styracosaurus, another Ceratopsian. So the family of these armored, fronted or shield-fronted, frilled dinosaurs with horns are known as Ceratopsians. And that would include, of course, the Triceratops, and here with the Styracosaurus, also Cretaceous age dinosaur. And turning around the corner, we have the T-Rex, an amazing predator, carnivore with tiny little arms. And I like they have a skull here. I really like that they've included what some of these fossils look like now. These are not real bones, but the replicas. But it does give you an idea about what the skull looks like, and then what could it look like once you put the skin, muscles, texture on it. And this is truly an impressive beast. And I'm glad I'm not doing this in front of a real T-Rex, but I'm happy to be able to see what one of these things would have looked like as an animatronic. And this, the T-Rex would have seen the end of the dinosaurs as well. So these are around in the late Cretaceous. And because they had to do a shout out to the new Jurassic Park movies, this is an Indominus Rex, which is not a real dinosaur, but something that was created for the movies as a hybrid dinosaur. But they have a fun little shout out to it. However, these are Jurassic and were in the movie and are real dinosaurs. This is a Dilophosaurus. And these would have been Jurassic predators. See some more of them here hiding in the shrubbery. Look at those. Now, one of the other things I enjoy is they actually have a shout out to some pre-dinosaur creatures that were from the time just before the dinosaurs, known as the Permian. And some of them crossed over maybe into the Triassic a little bit, the early time of the dinosaurs. But let me show you 2 of those they have here. I'm glad they have them included because the Permian's a time I'm very fascinated by in geologic history. Look at this amphibian. And this is Diplocalus. And this would have been something that lived before the time of the dinosaurs. Really cool, a giant amphibian. And they actually have, if you're ever in Houston, go to the Natural History Museum in Houston, and they have a lot of wonderful fossils of these creatures. And probably my favorite ancient creature, more so than even the Allosaurus, has always been the Dimetrodon or sailfins, which are not dinosaurs. They're actually a family of creatures that are more related to us than they are dinosaurs. And that has to do with their skull shape and where different sockets are set up in the skull. So look it up, really interesting story. They're from a family known as synapsids that went extinct before dinosaurs were around. And again, one of my favorite prehistoric creatures, the Dimetrodon. And look at this funky thing. This is an oviraptor. Look at the skull in this one. Oh, and it's even got babies. So this is one of the dinosaurs I believe they found that died in a nest or in a nesting situation. And so that's why they know about the eggs and even maybe the babies, as well as a little bit more about this dinosaur. And it lived in the late Cretaceous. So again, may have seen the extinction event. Look at these little guys. These are Lystrosaurus. And they're dog size, medium dog size. And they would have been around at the early time of the dinosaurs, and they're actually not a dinosaur either. Pretty cool. Coming to my favorite dinosaurs. I'm so excited. They are the Allosaurus. Now, these creatures lived during the Jurassic and would have been part of that Jurassic Giant story, and they think they actually hunted in packs, maybe like wolf packs. And actually, this is the state fossil of Utah where they found a lot of these Allosaurus throughout a lot of central Utah. And there's a couple quarries you can go visit there, but absolutely awesome. And my favorite dinosaur of all time. And being these are the last dinosaurs as I'm coming out here, last big dinosaurs, what a way to end the Jurassic Giants section. Now, I've taken a look at these animatronic dinosaurs. Let's go explore the zoo a bit and let's check out some of the modern relatives of these ancient creatures. And just outside of the dinosaur exhibit, we can actually see a cousin of the dinosaurs, an alligator here, specifically an American alligator. So you can go from looking at dinosaurs to looking at their modern relatives right outside that exhibit. And actually I can see another one with its head sticking out over there. Pretty cool. And there it goes. Not far from the alligator, they actually have some cranes here. And if you look at their toes, they have the tridactyl configuration, which dinosaurs have as well. And of course, birds being relatives to dinosaurs, we can go from, again, looking at dinosaurs to seeing their cousin, an alligator, to seeing their ancestors, something like this whooping crane. And these are known as the greater rhea, and they're from South America. But what I want to do is zoom in on their feet. And so you can take a look how their feet look very similar to what dinosaur feet look like, with the 3 toes, 1 long digit in the middle and 2 shorter ones. And these are known as the greater rhea. Take a look at their legs. Their knees bend the opposite direction of ours as well. So they'll actually sit kind of backwards instead of forwards like we sit as humans. So I wanted to zoom in on a flamingo here so we can take a look at their knees. Now, I was mentioning that their knees bend backwards of ours. See how it bends backwards? It's more like our elbow where it bends backwards instead of forward like our knees. Very interesting. They think dinosaurs did something similar, or they had a similar morphology, and so their legs would have bent, at least some of them would have bent a very similar way. All right, with these fellas and ladies growling behind me, I want to thank you all for joining me today to check out Jurassic Giants here at the Houston Zoo. An amazing exhibit. I've come here before, and by far they've outdone themselves this year. Absolutely fantastic. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to this channel, hit that bell for notification. You keep up on all my adventures. I have other adventures like this, delving into Earth history as well as human history and where they intersect. Take a look at some of my older videos from the greater Texas area and beyond as well. So with that being said, thank you all for joining me today. Take care. See you on the next adventure. Bye.